9 News at 9 starts right now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Alexandra Lewis. We are following some breaking news out of Rhino, where Denver police shot a man, leaving him hospitalized.
9 News reporter Colton Chavez is out there for us, learning what police have told us about what went down tonight. Colton?
Well, Kyle, one thing that I can tell you is this happened off 35th Avenue and Humboldt Street. Now, this is Lafayette Street. I want to point to show you guys kind of how large this crime scene is. You can see there's still police tape blocking the area. There's also police cruisers here on Lafayette Street. Now, the other thing that I want to point your attention to is the Annunciation Catholic School that you can see off in the distance. On the other side of that street is an alleyway, and that's where Humboldt Street is. Now, investigators say around 6:20 tonight, that's when they got several calls about a man carrying a handgun behind the alleyway of that school. Now, they say when officers arrived, they found someone who not only matched the description from the 911 calls, but officers said he was also holding a gun. Now, investigators say officers told the man to drop the gun multiple times. That's when they say the man made some kind of a move that they described as making officers fearful of being shot. Now, Denver Police Chief Ron Thomas said multiple officers fired their guns, hitting the man multiple times. So I asked the police chief Thomas what compelled people to call police.
My guess is that that somebody must have seen him with the weapon, or he must have threatened somebody, because we did get a number of calls.
Now, when I last spoke to the police chief, they had told me they had not identified the man at that time. They could also not tell me the extent of his injuries, other than that he was having surgery and that he was in what they called a critical condition. They also, the police chief also told me that they believed the man was experiencing homelessness based on that he was carrying a lot of things with him, and he had several belongings in the alleyway along with that handgun there. Now, this is obviously isn't an open investigation. We're going to continue to find out more information. But for now, live in Denver, or in Rhino, I apologize, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
ICE publicly called out Aurora Police this week for not helping them find 2 escapees from the ICE detention center. Aurora's police chief came swinging on that today, accused ICE of spreading misinformation.
Chief Todd Chamberlain says he won't let it damage his department's reputation. 9 News reporter Rhea Jaw is outside APD tonight. Rhea, the police chief really didn't hold back in this press conference.
Yeah, the chief pulled out the receipts at the press conference today. He pulled out the timeline, the 911 call, and the agreement they have with ICE, all to say that they followed protocol and that the department shouldn't be the one that they're blaming for the delayed in response.
Hello, everybody. We are here to set the record straight.
It's a clear message. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain wants to defend his department's reputation.
Let me be clear. The Aurora Police Department can only respond effectively and efficiently when timely and accurate information is provided. That, unfortunately, did not happen during this case.
After 2 men escaped from the ICE detention facility in Aurora Tuesday night, ICE told the public APD was, quote, notified immediately and declined to assist with the search.
And I'd like to play a tape of the actual dispatch that occurred on that evening.
To prove them wrong, Chamberlain played the full 6-minute-long 911 call from that night, filled with long pauses and vague descriptions.
I have his photo. I do not have his descriptors.
When was the last time that they were seen?
So I believe it was right before count was to conduct to 2200.
And it also shows the level and the sense of urgency that unfortunately was not present.
Officials at the GEO facility called 911 at 2:30 a.m., hours after the detainees escaped.
We can't just telepathically think, oh, this must have occurred and we're going to drive over there. And when you're looking at a 4.5 to a 5-hour time delay, that is concerning. This was not something that was lackadaisically looked at. It was something that was not swept under the rug.
Chamberlain shared his disappointment at ICE's suggestion that APD mishandled this escape.
ICE supervisors confirmed that there was never an expectation for APD to lead this investigation, yet it has become basically public sentiment and statements that ICE has suggested otherwise.
He said APD will continue to support ICE, but he hopes they won't have to set the record straight like this again.
What I hope the community of Aurora sees is that this department is committed to their safety. This department does not take calls or incidences like this lightly.
Those 2 men are still on the run, and ICE hasn't confirmed whether or not they believe they are still in Aurora or not. Reporting live in Aurora, Rhea Cha, 9 News.
The most prominent immigration activist in Colorado, Jeanette Vizguera, will appear in court next week. ICE arrested her Monday. Vizguera has been fighting deportation since 2009 when she was pulled over during a traffic stop. She's been here for decades. Since that point, though, she's been convicted of misdemeanors for entering the country without permission and having forged documents. Vizquera has been an advocate for immigration reform since President Trump's first term, when she made national headlines for taking refuge in a church for several years to avoid deportation. Vizquera's court date is set for next Friday, March 28th.
Well, happy spring to you all. It was notably warmer today, but breezy with high fire danger south and east of Denver. We're expecting more of the same tomorrow before mountain snow returns over the weekend. But pretty good first looking day of spring, Chris.
Absolutely, and we have more of that in store for you if you missed out today. Now that wind that you mentioned, that's going to stick around. We're going to have, I like to call it breezy conditions, off and on wind issues from now through about Monday. So we're going to talk about that a lot in the days ahead. Right now we have just kind of pockets of wind out there. It's not widespread, but where it is blowing, we have some places over 20 miles per hour, such as at the airport and out in Colorado Springs and in the foothills just west of Denver. And some of that wind keeps spilling out of the foothills and into the I-25 corridor. The good news, I don't think the gusts will get much higher than where they are now, but the wind gusts are going to be with us off and on through the night. We'll fall into the 20s and 30s east and west tonight, into the teens for the high country. Tomorrow's highs similar to today, but wait until you see where we go next week. The details in the full forecast coming up.
Today, President Trump signed an executive order to begin the process of dismantling the U.S. Department of Education.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
The White House says the order aims to, quote, greatly minimize the agency. It says that certain functions, like student loans, would remain with the Department of Education. About 1,300 employees at the department were recently terminated. Like many of the president's executive actions, this one is likely to be challenged in court as potentially illegal. Completely closing down the Department of Education would require an act of Congress, which created the agency in 1979.
Several schools that were closed today while teachers protested at the state capitol will be back open tomorrow. Thousands of educators rallied today to express their disagreement with Democratic Governor Jared Polis's proposal to change the school funding formula. As the state works to balance the budget, Polis wants to switch school funding from an average number of students to actual enrollment numbers. School districts see that as a $150 million cut to education.
I hope that when we come out of this, that the legislation feels that they know we're here, that we can go forward and get to a level of funding for public education in Colorado that is equitable, that is fair, and just stop cutting our funding.
Aurora Public Schools, Boulder Valley Schools, and Adams 12 all canceled class today because so many staffers called out. DPS also closed some of its schools.
A bipartisan group of state lawmakers is pushing for a bill that would require social media companies to ban users who illegally sell drugs and guns online. Backers fear that Democratic Governor Jared Polis is going to veto this, even if it passes by wide bipartisan margins. Senate Bill 86 is backed by school districts, hospitals, district attorneys around the state. Democratic State Senator Lindsay Doherty is one of the bill's sponsors. She says there continues to be a sticking point with the governor, who thinks that removing counts is a free speech issue.
We believe that if you are, sex trafficking or selling drugs or selling weapons to children, that you should be removed from these sites. And so that's our sticking point. We're trying to work with the governor's office and find a middle ground to move forward.
We asked the governor's office if he supports this bill. We did not get an actual answer.
New tonight, nearly a dozen domestic cats in Colorado have gotten the most recent strain of bird flu. Officials say that 11 of it contracted, only one of those 11, I should say, survived. The agency says bird flu has infected both indoor-only and indoor-outdoor cats. They believe the cases could be linked to both raw pet food and raw poultry. There's currently a recall for a type of raw pet food from Savage Pet that was announced on Saturday.